today's tutorial, we are going to learn how to use Adobe Illustrator to create designs and then use Adobe Dimension to apply those designs to objects to create a cohesive scene for a brand or whatever kind of consumer product, say you're trying to sell. You can create images such as this for advertising to put on a website, whatever it is that you might need. So let's go ahead and get started. Go ahead and close this. So we're going to start in Illustrator. Now within here, I've created some boards and labeled them for ease of the viewers. So we're going to create a logo, a word mark, a logo and word mark together, and then a pattern. You basically want to give yourself some different assets that you could imagine putting on a product. So giving yourself everything that you would need. In this case, I did a design for Old Slow Barbecue, and so I have this like little logo, their word mark, I have the two together, and then I created this pattern. And I'll be able to use all of these to be on any product in Adobe Dimension. And you want to be able to create a cohesive scene, so all of your elements should be able to tie together. And I'm just using black for right now, but of course you can color them however you might need. To create a pattern, like if you had a logo or some element, in order to create a pattern out of it, I'm going to go ahead and show you how to do that real quick. Let me go ahead and take this guy. I'm gonna make a copy of him and just bring him over here. I want to size it down because if I leave it this big, then the size of my pattern will be that. So I want it to be smaller like these. So I'm gonna go ahead and size this guy down. And then I'll zoom in. And then I'm gonna make a copy. I want to have a repeating pattern of right side up and upside down. So I did that. I'm going to take both of these, object, pattern, make, and then it's going to open up a dialog box, and it gives you this kind of default pattern, and it adds a swatch to your swatches panel. And now we're going to go ahead and edit this however we might need. So these are our two main, and then it repeats this pattern throughout. Now in here you have your choice of how you want these things to be. I want them to be kind of offset, so I'm going to choose this brick by column, and then you will go ahead and see how it changes these things up. And then here you can see how many copies. This basically shows how wide of a pattern you can make. But the main thing that you want to do is you can go through and control these and the closeness of your pattern, but you have a little bit more control if actually you go click this guy, and then you can go through and actually change how all of these pieces fit together. So I'm going to start right here, and if I lower this down, you're going to see that it changes where this pattern sits. So you can use this to change how all of your elements nestle together. So I'm going to go ahead and drop that down a little bit more, and then you can change the height and width of this box, and that'll either bring them, like in this case I'm gonna grab this guy and then I'm gonna hold option so that it's equal. I'm gonna go like this, and then you'll see it's actually gonna bring my pattern closer together, something like that. And I'll go a little bit wider, give myself a little space between. So doing something like that, I'll just say save a cart, just say done for right now. Done. And then I can go ahead and delete these because I don't need them anymore. But it added a swatch. It added a swatch to my panel here. So if I grab my rectangle tool and just go like this and then apply that swatch, and it'll take a moment. moment, but now you can see that I've applied that pattern to the inside. I did it real quick. I'm not very happy with this because things aren't aligned the way I want them to be, such as this. But when you're in your pattern, you can double click on your swatch and it'll go ahead and actually reopen this. So you can go through and fine tune this just a little bit more so that your pattern lines up however you want it to be. But I'm just going to say cancel right now because I already created a pattern. So I'm going to delete that. But that was just a quick little way to show you how to make a pattern. Now, once you have your design all done, you have your logo, your word mark, combination of the two, and then a pattern of some element. Go ahead and save this, save your document. And then we're going to go and open up Adobe Dimension. And we're going to create a new document, or a new project in this case. Now, quick little overview of Adobe Dimension here. Instead of like artboards like we would have in Illustrator, we're actually working within a 3D space. And on the side here, you have your direct selection tool. You have your selection tool to select specific objects and whatnot, but mainly the tools that you're going to use are this direct selection tool, and then these are your camera tools. So you have this orbit, which allows you to freely move around the design space. You know, it gives you complete flexibility of wherever you want to, however you want your view to be. This tool right here allows you to just pan up, down, left, right, and then this one right here allows you to zoom in and zoom out. Basically, do you want to be further away? Do you want to be closer up? So those are the main tools that you're going to be using. Now in here and in your assets, you're given starter assets, and immediately it'll show everything in this panel, but you can also select these. So this will show you models. That's going to give you all of your 3D models for you to choose from. There is a plethora in here. We have our basic materials. They have everything from ceramics, concrete, metals, fabric, paper. There is a wide variety of materials in here. You'll have your lighting options. The one that we're going to use probably is going to be this 3-point light, where you'll get light coming from the left, light coming from the right, and then you'll have some backlighting going on. And you'll have control over this, and it doesn't have to be perfect, because when you apply a background to it, you can have your background and your models that you create here actually line up so that it looks cohesive. Now this last one here is your images, where you can have background images that you will place your products in to give it that realistic vibe. Now if there is a model that is not in here that you want, like say, like for example, I'm gonna do like a barbecue, like food, and I want a food container and this takeout box. I actually loaded this in here, but you can go to your Adobe stock right here, and in the 3D section right here, you can find 3D models of anything that you can think of for whatever you're trying to design. So for example, I wanted a to-go box. So the one I chose was actually this one, and your student license should be able to let you download this for free, but you can look at any kind of thing that you might need, and all you have to do is download it and then go back to Dimension and say File, Import, and then Import 3D Model. And when you click on 3D Model, go to where you downloaded it, and it'll be this object file. And then you'll go ahead and open that. and then it'll load it into that 3D space for you. Now, when you click on the item, let me go back to my direct selection tool here, click on the item, this little orbit shows up, and it gives you all the maneuverability that you need for your product. So this will allow you to move along the x-axis. This will allow you to move on the z-axis, obviously giving you depth. This will allow you to move on the y-axis, where you can move it up and down. And you do have to be careful of this because you can dip below basically your base plane. So if that happens and you're not sure if you're back absolutely on the bottom, you can go over here and actually say right here on the y-axis, you can just change that back to 0, and that'll drop that back to the ground. And these ones in between allow you rotation. So if I want to spin this around, I can do that. And it'll work the same with all of these, just spinning around the x-axis, y-axis, z-axis, however you want it to be. And this central guy allows you just to move the whole thing around, but it'll stay flat on the ground, but it just allows you to move the perspective around. Now, if you wanted to resize this object, let me go ahead and pan around a little bit, just so you can see. Now, if you wanted to resize this object, if you grab this panel and move that around, it's going to size it and scale it up and down proportionally. But say I wanted to like make this just longer, I'll go ahead and grab this, click, hold shift, and then I'll be able to expand this guy to create some sort of weird container. Like if you have a model that didn't quite fit the product you're trying to do, you can go ahead and actually manipulate it in this just like that. Now, for the sake of this tutorial, what we're going to do is we're going to add a couple items so that you can make a cohesive scene. Add anywhere from 2 to 3 items. So for me, I have my little to-go box here. Let's go ahead and give myself a soda cup. And it's always going to place it centrally in your 3D space, so you're going to have to move that around. Let's move him. And another thing is, if you have a product and you put that guy on top of another guy, it's going to follow the planes it recognizes, thinking that that's where you want it to be. So it's on the side there, it's on the side over here. So you just want to make sure that you're actually not on your product. I'm going to go ahead and use my zoom out tool here. And I'm going to use my pan tool so I can look around. And think about how you actually want things to be, how you want them to be placed. And I'm gonna go ahead and grab this guy again. I'm gonna move him just a little bit closer. So I've got my food box, I've got my drink cup, and let's add a bag to put it all in. So I'm gonna add this paper bag. It's gonna add it right in the middle. And this is a good example of, let me move this. Now you can see that if this were an actual bag that would house this guy for this like to-go order, this is too thin. It wouldn't be able to fit flat. So I'm going to take this guy and I'm actually going to expand him. So I'm going to click here, I'm going to hold shift, and I'm going to expand this guy out, kind of make him big enough that this would be able to hold a to-go order. It doesn't have to be exact, just rough. Just to basically think of this as a proof of concept. We're just using this to get an idea across. So let me move this guy off. And I want to see the other side of this. I don't want this crease here. So let me go ahead and spin this guy around. And spin this guy around. And then I'm just gonna kind of try to bring all of these together because I'm trying to create a scene here. And use your pan tool to look around, see how things are placed, make sure things like aren't inside one another, make sure that they are close enough to how you want them to be. Okay, that's good enough. And I want to do a slightly kind of aerial shot. So I'm going to put a design on the top of this box and I want to be able to see it. So let me raise that up a little bit more. Just be able to see these. Okay, so now let's add some texture and color to these items. So I'll start with this bag here, get my direct selection tool, start with this bag. Now over on this side, this is where you get control of all of your items and your scenes and whatnot. So you can see right here that this is the environment, and you can change this color of this background right here if you wanted to look at a white background, if that helps you. Kind of like the gray, so I'll just leave it like that. But that's where you have that ability. Now these are my 3 items that I've dropped in here. So let's go ahead and start with this paper bag. Now this item allows you to change. You can go here and you can change the colors of the handles themselves if you wanted to, if you wanted them to be a different color. I don't really care, I want them all to be like the same color, so I'll click bag mesh, or you can click the whole thing. And then let's go over here to our materials, and then I'm going to go down to where I find paper, or you can search right in here, paper, and then it'll give you all like the different like paper options. And I'm going to go ahead and choose this first one. And you can play around and see which of these items actually like fit better for you. That's fine, that's perfect. And then you can go into a little bit more of the material properties, and you can actually customize this a little bit more, like if you wanted it to be more texturous, or however you want. You have all of the abilities to customize this however you want. And let's see, for my to-go container here, now you can see that for this there's multiple items. There's the bottom, there's the top, there's the bottom of the container, and then there's the cover, this wrap that goes over it. So I'm going to choose the top lid. Again, we're doing paper. We'll do like a grainy paper. And while it's loading, you can see it changed the texture of this, which kind of looks like a to-go box there. And with that selected, you could actually go through and change the color of the paper too, if you wanted to. You can change it to whatever you want it to be. Let's go ahead and do the same thing with the bottom. Let's give it that paper texture, and it'll change that. And then this cover, this material here, let's change this actually to like let's change it to a glossy paper, just because we can. Alright, there we go. And again, once you have an item selected, it might take a second, but you can go through and you can change the roughness, the color intensity, paper thickness. You can change basically all the different intensities and whatnot. So you can get pretty deep actually into all of this if you wanted to. Let's see, for my cup here, I'll just go ahead and leave that actually as is, but in my paper cup here, I want to change my lid. I want to change that to something plastic. I'm going to try to make this as real as I can. So let's see, what is this? This is a plastic pattern. You got rubber, translucent. So here, let's just do a clear plastic. Nice, and then we'll do the, let's see, for the straw, which is right here. Let's see if actually, if I look at a pattern, let's see if I could actually give my straw some kind of pattern. Let's go ahead and see what this looks like. It's a small touch, but sometimes it's like the little details that can sell an item. You know, this is just just little stripes on there. Looks weird, but you know what? It's good for now. Okay, let's go ahead and actually add designs now to our objects. So with my paper bag, let's say the bag mesh. So I'm going through and choosing this specific item. It's not including the handles or anything like that. And then you're going to click this little guy right here where you get to place an image on the model. And then what you're going to do is you're going to go to where your design is, that Illustrator document. And this was mine, say open. And you may have multiple artboards, but that's okay because we can go through and change a specific design. So it's just going to drop my first design from my artboard on there. It's just going to drop that on there. Like say I don't want this one, say I want something else. Well, we're here where it says image, you click on that, and now you get to choose from the artboards within your Illustrator document. I want to go with my third artboard, which has my word mark and logo on it, and using any of these handles you can resize this. You can see it's an oval because it automatically distorted the image to fit the angle at which we're viewing this this piece. You can use this handle to rotate, but I'm actually fine with the way that looks. Okay, so let's add something now to this guy. So I'm going to go to my takeout box, click on the cover. You can see that that's indeed it. And I'm going to add 2 items to this actually. So let's go ahead and I'm going to add my pattern. So it might take a second for all the options to pop up. Okay, image, and now pattern was my 4th artboard. Okay, there we go. Now I'm going to move this around and have it be where, kind of like on the edge here. You can see that it's changing the shape of it based on where I'm actually putting it. And that's okay, because again, we have full control. So if it's not exactly where I want it to be, I kind of want this to kind of fall to the edge. So let's do that. I'm going to rotate it because it's not doing exactly what I want. Let's rotate it this way. Let's go. Keep rotating. Okay. Yeah, something like that. Good enough. I just wanted it to be kind of like along that edge. Now I have that. Let's go ahead and add a second design actually up on top here. So still with my cover selected. Go ahead and hit this guy again, and then it'll add, you got to select your document, and then it'll add a second graphic, which for a second graphic, let's choose just our word mark, which is the second one. Okay. Oop, I actually changed the wrong one, so I'm going to hit Command Z. So it is this one, graphic 3. The most recent one is on top. So let's go ahead and change that so you can And you can also, by the way, use this as you can totally fill something as well. So it fills the entire piece. But I'm using decal because I just want to place my image and play around with these options: decal, fill, repeating patterns, this, that. Okay, I'm going to use my second artboard. Okay. Alright, let's go ahead and move this up here to the top. And using the handles here, I'm going to rotate it around until it looks how I want it to be. And I can scale it down using these, or of course you can scale down in this panel here. Grabbing this handle and bringing it in, you're going to see it's just going to scale it left and right. So if you hold Option and Shift, it'll scale it proportionally down to the center. Okay, so that's fine like this. Now let's add a pattern to our cup here. So I have my soda cup. Just want to apply it to, it says cup mesh, which is basically the body of the cup. Now let's go ahead and add our designs. And then that works fine. You can do that. Of course, you can change it to any one of your other artboards as well, your pattern, your word mark. I like just having the logo on there. So let's go ahead and just leave that like that. Now let's go ahead and play with some lighting. I'm going to choose lighting right here, and no pattern is showing up because I have that in my search bar, but let's use 3-point light. So I'll go ahead and click on that. So now we have a light source coming from this way, a light source coming from this way, and a light source coming from the back. Backlight, fill light, key light, and you can go through. Now these are relatively intense, and as these are right now, if you wanted to get a quick preview of what this is looking like, go up here to where it says ray tracing and click on this little box to look at the settings. Now, ray tracing itself is going to give you the most accurate rendering, but it can take a little bit more time. If we instead select real time, it'll be quicker, faster, not quite as precise, but that's what we want. We just want to get a quick little preview. When we actually export this out, we will use ray tracing, but for right now, when we're just trying to get a preview of what things look like, let's go ahead and leave it in real time. Okay, so you can see that with the lighting, it's actually a little bit blown out, so we need to soften the intensity of a lot of these lights. So let's say with our fill light, let's go ahead and actually lower the intensity here. And then we'll use our key light, and we'll lower the intensity of this as well. And then environmental light, same thing. It's basically like the exposure on a camera, like how exposed do you want your image to be. So go ahead and lower all that. And also another reason why this is looking blown out is because I chose a glossy cover here. So if I go to my pan tool and I move this around, you'll see that the image will change and it looks a little bit better, but you can see the lighting is like changed. Yeah, that's a perfect example because it's gloss, so it's going to be reflecting the light shining upon it. So let's find a spot where it's not so blown out, but we can get some of that shine. There we go. I think that's good right there. Now again, you can, as you do that, you find an angle that you want, go ahead and move things around so that things fit into your scene the way that you want them to be. So move this guy over just so we get a little bit more of our bag in there. Take this guy and bring him over. Okay. I think that's good enough. And then, so once you kind of have all of this set up to where you want it to be, you have your textures chosen, you have your artwork on your pieces. Now it's time to actually give ourselves a background so we can make this look realistic. So I'm gonna go ahead and zoom out a little bit. And then let's go to our image here. And these are some standard images actually that comes with, but say you wanted something specific. So I'm doing like a barbecue scene. So probably we're gonna want something outside, like a picnic table. So if there's nothing like that that you want here and you want something specific, you can go back to your Adobe stock and then you can look for images. So here I'm gonna look just in images and then I'm gonna say outdoor picnic table. I didn't spell picnic right, but you can see that you have like all of these options and whatnot. I found one a little bit earlier that is a scene. It's a scene like this, just a little background of a park, flat table, whatnot. So I'm gonna go ahead and actually use this picture, and I downloaded that from my Adobe stock as well. So let me go back to Dimension, go up to File, Import, and then Image as Background. And basically it's going to be telling Dimension that you're going to be using an image, any image, as a background, so it'll know that if there's like specific lighting and whatnot, it can change the lighting and the lighting on your package so that these are cohesive. So I'm going to say open and it'll take a moment. There we go. Now I have my background image and you can see that I have this guy, which their planes are totally different. This is a lot more flat, we're a lot more level with this, and this we're having more of a bird's eye view. So in order to get them to match up, over here in actions, you can say match image, and what that's going to do is it's going to change the lighting, the camera, the angle, and make it look like these two are a match. So you'll click match image, it'll take a second while it thinks, and then you'll say okay, and then it's now going to start blending these two together so that they actually look cohesive. And you'll still be able to make some adjustments, fine tune it, because sometimes say it's to get it to look like it's actually on this table instead of like say falling off. So you'll still have to play with some of these. All right, there we go. So you can see that it changed the lighting because my light source is coming from here, so it's a little more backlit. So these are a little darker. Now you can see it's kind of towards like the back of the table. Say I want to actually bring it up using any of your tools here. I'm gonna go ahead and bring this forward. A little too much. Find that balance. Okay. There we go. And because we did move it, you can always hit match image again. Say okay. And then just in case you like move everything or you change the angle of the plane of where your 3D items are at, just hitting the match will just make sure that it's cohesive again. You can see because I brought it forward, it kind of raised it up, so now it's actually looks like it's sitting on the table. And I'm gonna go back to my environment. So this is a little too dark for me here. Image light 2. So this is where you can go through and actually change the lighting environment. Let's raise this up a little bit more. There we go. So, and once you actually get this, and you can actually color the light too if you wanted like a warm glow on. So if you wanted, yeah, like a little bit more of like a warm glow on things, you can do that, and it'll change the color that's on here and add some warmth. So once you get this scene to how you want it to be, we're gonna go up here to where it says render, and then we're gonna use ray tracing because it's gonna be more precise. Medium quality is sufficient, And all of this stuff actually is pretty fine, but make sure you're in ray tracing, medium, and then this is where you will give the title of your scene. So I'll say 337, the lab number, I'll say L8, and then your username. Choose where you want it to save to. So I'm going to save this in my folder where I have everything going on. I'll say open, and then you have your choice of saving it as a PNG, a JPEG, or a PSD 16 bits. I'm gonna go ahead and save it as a JPEG for now, and then you'll say render, and then it's gonna be down here. You'll see it starting to think about it together, and it goes pretty quick once it's actually going through. And it looks a little funky here, but once it's actually done and it's fully rendered, we'll have our scene. So let me go ahead and open up this image. There we go. And we can see, I opened up the image and it automatically opened up in Photoshop. But so we can see our image, our design, cohesive, sitting on this table in a park, like somebody's having their little barbecue lunch. And that's how you work with Adobe Dimension. Now, as I said, if you don't like it, you can go back and you can change things around, but images that you don't have but you want, search Adobe stock. Same thing with your 3D models. Look on Adobe stock right here in the 3D panel. You can select 3D models, you can look at lights and materials. So everything that you might need for your scene is actually going to be in here. And they start you off with plenty of good items, but if you have something specific, like I wanted to do a little scene of barbecue takeout here, you can go ahead and find those. So that's a quick little tutorial on how to use Adobe Dimension. So I hope you enjoyed this tutorial, and if you have any questions or comments, go ahead and leave those in the comments below. Thank you and have a great day.